By the time you finish listening to this, you will understand why a crushing 60-minute defeat on one of the biggest stages in North American tennis did not mark the end of Alexandra Eala's week in Canada, but instead triggered a global cultural movement that forced tournament directors, international broadcast networks, and traditional sports media to completely rewrite how they cover modern professional sports. August 10, 2026. Toronto Pearson International Airport. Terminal 1 is usually a place of transactional noise, a cold expanse of rolling luggage, announcements blaring over hidden loudspeakers, lines of tired travelers shifting from foot to foot, and the steady, monotonous rhythm of delays and departures. But on this humid Monday afternoon, the arrivals area outside Gate E is completely transformed into something that feels less like an international transit hub and more like an arena on the brink of an absolute explosion. Hundreds upon hundreds of people have completely taken over the lower level of the terminal. They're standing shoulder to shoulder, 5 and 6 rows deep along the metallic barricades, filling the walkways, leaning over the upper-level glass railings and spilling into the main concourse. They are not holding airport pickup signs with names written on printer paper. They are holding hand-painted banners that stretch 6 feet across, adorned with glittering stars, bold red, white, and blue lettering, and heartfelt messages written in both Tagalog and English. They are waving Philippine flags of every single size, from small plastic handheld sticks to massive woven banners draped across their shoulders like capes. The sound echoing off the polished concrete floors and high metallic ceilings is not the usual quiet hum of airport traffic. It is a rhythmic, deafening, synchronized chant that reverberates through the glass windows and startles incoming passengers as they step off their long-haul flights. Travelers coming off planes from London, Tokyo, and Frankfurt pull their suitcases to a dead stop, visually bewildered, reaching for their phones to record a crowd that looks as if it is waiting for a world leader or a multi-platinum pop star. But this crowd has not gathered for a politician or a Hollywood celebrity. They have gathered for a 21-year-old girl who, just 6 hours earlier, suffered one of the most painful, lopsided, and heartbreaking losses of her professional athletic career. She had stepped onto center court at Sobeys Stadium during the round of 16 at the National Bank Open, carrying a pristine 7-match winning streak, only to be dismantled in straight sets by an elite, battle-tested opponent. She had been bageled on national television, beaten 6-4, 6-0 in 73 minutes, her body visibly aching from an ankle tweak suffered days prior, her energy drained from consecutive 3-set marathons, her dream of lifting a prestigious WTA 1000 trophy in Canada crushed in front of 10,000 spectating eyes. In the cold, objective logic of elite professional athletics, she was just another eliminated contestant packing her bags to catch a late-night flight out of town. In the cold logic of professional sport, an eliminated player walks out the back exit of the venue, slips quietly into an airport rideshare, and disappears into the next city on the calendar to reset in total obscurity. Instead, as the automatic glass doors of the arrival gate slide open and Alexandra Eala walks through, her head initially bowed, her hands tightly gripping the handles of her heavy black travel bags, her eyes tired and red from the emotional toll of the past 24 hours, the terminal erupts with the force of a playoff stadium. The floor literally vibrates as the crowd breaks into a roaring chorus of her name. A surge of energy sweeps through the concourse. Dozens of young kids, hoisted onto their parents' shoulders, stretch their arms out over the railings holding foam tennis balls and pristine white caps. Elderly grandmothers in traditional embroidery reach out with tears streaming down their cheeks, calling out words of love, encouragement, and ancestral pride in Tagalog. Working-class families who took unpaid shifts, college students who drove 3 hours from neighboring provinces, and local community leaders who organized the turnout via group chats in the middle of the night are all standing side by side, creating a literal human corridor of support. Alex stops in her tracks. The initial heavy, solemn look on her face completely shatters. Her hands drop to her sides, her mouth opens in shock, and as she looks around at the massive wall of red, white, and blue, the tears she had held back during her post-match press conference finally overflow, streaming down her cheeks. But these are no longer the bitter tears of an athlete mourning a loss on a stat sheet. These are the tears of an athlete realizing that her impact on this world has completely transcended the narrow, artificial boundaries of wins, losses, unforced errors, and prize money. She steps forward into the crowd, not to rush past them into a waiting vehicle but to immerse herself entirely in their warmth. She signs every hat, takes photos with young girls who are clutching their very first tennis rackets, hugs crying fans who tell her what her journey means to their families back home in the provinces, and speaks directly to local news cameras with a voice trembling with genuine, unfiltered emotion. If you have been in this corner since day one, if you are one of the early believers who watched a young girl from Manila train relentlessly across European academies, battling through grueling qualification draws, overcoming media skepticism, and single-handedly dismantling the historic country club fortress of international tennis, then you know that what happened at Toronto Pearson International Airport was not just a heartwarming viral clip, it was a massive cultural statement. It was a line drawn in the sand of modern sports history. It was proof that when an athlete represents something larger than their own personal trophy case, defeat ceases to be an ending point and becomes the fuel for a global movement. Make sure you hit that subscribe button right now, ring that notification bell, and join this community of passionate sports fans. Because today we are going to break down every single layer of this historic story, dissecting the match, the numbers, the cultural mechanics, the media coverage, and the unbelievable global phenomenon that is Alex Eala. To truly comprehend why hundreds of fans would turn an airport arrival's gate into a triumphant homecoming for an athlete who had just lost a match in straight sets, you have to rewind the clock and understand the unprecedented storm that swept through Toronto during the entire week of the National Bank Open. Professional tennis, particularly at the WTA 1000 level, is a sport steeped in very specific long-standing traditions. It is historically an environment defined by polite applause, hushed stadium quiet during service motions, corporate box seats, and a geographic hierarchy that has leaned heavily toward European and North American dominance for over a century. When tournament organizers prepare their schedules for an event like Toronto, they rely on predictable metrics. They look at international rankings, Grand Slam titles, seedings, and commercial stardom to determine which players get assigned to the main television courts and which players get assigned to the smaller outer venues. When the official tournament draw was announced in early August, Alex Eala was not expected to be the main attraction of the week. She was a rising star, a former junior Grand Slam champion, and a young player whose talent was undeniably dangerous, but on paper, surrounded by former world number ones, Grand Slam champions, and Olympic medalists, she was viewed by traditional tournament organizers as an intriguing secondary plotline. They scheduled her opening round match against American star Alicia Parks on Grandstand Court, a modest, intimate venue with a capacity of roughly 2,800 seats. It was a logical decision according to standard operational formulas, but standard operational formulas failed to account for a powerful, unstoppable variable: the sheer, passionate size and loyalty of the global Filipino diaspora. Now, I want to hand the floor over to you in the comments section below. Is the overwhelming, arena-shaking energy of Alex Eala's global fanbase giving her a massive psychological edge over her opponents, or is it creating an unmeasurable amount of pressure on her young shoulders? Drop your thoughts, breakdowns, and predictions in the comments right now. I'm diving in and replying to the sharpest takes immediately. If you believe in this journey, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with every sports fan you know. Thank you for watching, stay loud, and we will see you in the very next match breakdown.